This is House Education, March 12th, 2026. The committee is preparing to put the final touches on two bills and to vote them out. One is the miscellaneous education bill and the other is the chronic absenteeism bill. We're going to open with the miscellaneous ed bill. We just reviewed it this morning. We did not ask Legislative Council to make any changes. Are there any further questions? Maybe we'll put it up on the screen behind us. Again, it is the moratorium language, the interstate compact, changing BOCES to CESAs, and finally the fingerprinting.
So class size minimums.
Oh, and class size minimums. Thank you.
And I have Beth St. James Office of Legislative Counsel. We're using the same draft that Matt posted this morning for you. And I had failed to add the statement of purpose, the background language, but I've done it in the Word document that when you vote, will go to Matt to go to the clerk's office.
All right. Any questions or concerns from anybody? All right. I guess, would somebody please move that we approve the miscellaneous ed bill or by number?
I move to approve the miscellaneous ed bill.
All right, how about a second?
Okay.
Okay.
What draft are we? Just like
4.1.
4.1.
All right, clerk, go ahead and call that roll.
All right. Rep Brady.
Yes.
Rep Brown. Yes. Rep Dobrovich.
Yes.
Rep Harple.
Yes.
Rep Hunter.
Yes.
Rep Long.
Yes.
Rep McCann.
Yes.
Rep Morgan.
Yes.
Rep Quimby.
Yes.
Rep Taylor.
Yes.
Rep Conlon.
Yes,
Unanimous.
start of nothing but unanimous votes out of committee.
I'm glad it started today.
We're practicing now.
That's right.
Okay, let us move on to chronic absenteeism. So background. There was the issue over if you remove all of the punishments, what's a state attorney supposed to do? I had somebody from the state attorney's office talk with counsel at AOE, have them figure out language. They worked together, come up with some language. I brought it to legislative council and we'll go through it now. We probably should just kind of go quickly over what we've already gone through and then the new language.
Bear with me. Yes, we'll be looking at draft 5.1 of 26-0777.
And let me just say at the start, I think that there probably will continue to be comments about the list. Got to leave some work for our Senate colleagues to do if people want to tweak that there.
So you're saying you don't want us to add anything else to the list?
That's right. Especially since the list has the catch-all of, like I got an email today, so like, oh, you don't have the page program. But I think that falls under the catch-all.
What did you think overall of that email?
I can't remember. There have been so many.
He said, don't call him a truant officer, call him.
Oh, yeah. Tell them something.
That can be, if the Senate wants to take up that, they can.
Okay.
So that's the name of the position in statute.
Okay, chronic absenteeism. This is draft 5.1. Starts with a definition section. And I think you guys have me until
30.
No, it's not.
2:15. Nope.
30th.
2:30. 2:30. Okay. So if you want to go in more detail, we have time.
Yeah, and I hate to repeat everything, but it's important that we all understand that that we are creating a definition of chronic absenteeism. We are creating definitions of what is an excused absence. And so this does that, and then it sort of updates the truancy statutes that do exist.
So all of the definitions are new. So you'll see this is all underlined language. So you're creating a definition for what it means to be absent, chronic absenteeism, what an excused absence is, parent or guardian, truancy, and unexcused absence. Those are all new definitions to Title 16, with the exception of parent or guardian. But it is a new definition to this chapter. So section 1121 is your compulsory attendance requirement. So if you're between the ages of 6 and 16, you have to go to a public school, an approved or recognized independent school, an approved education program, or home study program. Unless certain things hold true. And then I'm on page 4 now. So students under 6 and over 16 years of age, so on either side of the compulsory attendance age group. And basically what this section says is if your child who is under 6 or over 16 is enrolled in school, then all those compulsory attendance requirements applies to them. If they're not enrolled in school, then they don't have to be enrolled in school. But if they are, then they got to play by the same rules. Section 1123, school absence may be excused. Superintendent or head of school, and throughout all of this, there's always the option for a designee. I'm not going to keep saying that. I have highlighted in green may, because I believe this was a policy choice that in my notes was undecided. So I'm just flagging that here. May excuse a student's absence for all or part of the school day. And then there's your list starting on page 5. Do you want to go over any of these individually?
Committee members? Nope. Well, let's just read number 12, which is the catch-all.
Other reasons not on this list with the approval of the superintendent or designee or head of school or designee.
That's for family vacations. Nope. No, that's on the list.
What's next?
That is where page program falls.
Each program.
And 4-H, which I will say the agricultural committee really wanted us to get 4-H on this list.
Well, talk to the Senate.
This subsection B is the family, pre-planned family commitments or activities of which the school has been notified in advance. That's also May.
So that could include 4-H. Pre-planned.
This is a pre-fam family commitment. I'd say 4-H falls under the previous one.
Yeah. Family activity. Whole families come.
And then subsection C allows the superintendent, but does not, or head of school, but does not require them to seek justification for the absence. So now we get into some of the brand new law. Section 1124 is the brand new response to chronic absenteeism. And this is where the model policy language lives. So subsection A requires AOE in consultation with the Vermont School Boards Association, Superintendents Association, Principals Association, Independent School Association, and then we added, last time we looked at this, the Vermont School Counselor Association, to develop a model policy on the prevention of chronic absenteeism and truancy. The policy has to include a template for documentation of actions taken according to the policy to address the absence, which shall constitute the truancy reporting protocol. The policy is also required to include a template for standard documentation to be provided to parents or guardians pursuant to section 1127, which we'll walk through in a second. And then school districts are required to adopt a policy, truancy, what are we calling it? a chronic absenteeism and truancy policy. This is standard language. I'm on page 7. The shall develop, adopt, and ensure the enforcement of and make available, et cetera. We've been using this in the last several years for any time we're asking for a model policy or school boards to adopt a policy. And the school boards are required to, their policies are required to be at least as stringent as the model policy developed by AOE. And then the superintendent and the head of school can develop or are required to develop procedures to carry out the policies. And the policy is required to be consistent with the definitions in this chapter. The superintendent or head of school is also required to ensure that data on student absences is collected and recorded in accordance with AOE requirements. And if a school board or approved independent school fails to adopt the policy, they will have presumed to have adopted the most current model policy published by AOE.
So we have defined chronic absenteeism, and then now we have laid out the response to chronic absenteeism, which is essentially asking the AOE to come up with model policy that must be adopted.
Can I ask you a quick question? That last sentence where you just read, that is also standard that I just wanted to make sure we've been doing that for a lot. I like that.
Cell phones,
Yeah.
school branding, I think hazing, harassment, and bullying prevention, although can't guarantee that. But yes, we have been trying to use that language.
Good.
Well, I think I'm asking mostly because I have to present this and there aren't sections. Now, is this because these things are already in statute?
No, so if we avert your eyes.
She's gonna smack.
So section 1 is amending an entire chapter or subchapter. So I don't need to, for every different statute, you don't have to call out a different section number, but I will do a lovely summary of the bill for you that will explain that. So we're good, you're good. We all do it. It's not just me.
I will continue to bring Sour Patch Kids.
Wow.
Excellent transactional relationship. I tried one of the Kit Kats and definitely my elite alliances with the Sour Patch, for sure. Okay, so, but that is a great question. And it does make it harder to refer, you're not referring to section 1 or section 2, although there is a section 1 and a section 2. You would be referring to a statute within section 1. And I'll make sure that's all clear for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're on page 7, line 17. These asterisks here,
Yep.
because we are in a subchapter and amending an entire subchapter, don't mean that there's anything left off of the preceding statute, 1124. It just means that there were no amendments to the statutes that were between 1124 and 1120, so 1125.
Right.
Yep. Okay, failure to attend notice. When a student who is within the compulsory attendance age group, which is between 6 and 16, who is not exempted from school attendance by one of the authorized individuals in accordance with what we walked through in the beginning.
I am sort of thinking about questions that might come up on the floor for Rob. So, does Vermont still have no compulsory educational requirement for kids under 6 and over 16? And the answer to that is we don't.
Not compulsory, no. But
If you have enrolled.
if you have enrolled,
Right, then you are subject.
then it is compulsory. So if you are between the ages of 6 or 16 and your absence has not been excused, or let's just read it. When a student between 6 and 16 years of age who is not exempted from school attendance by one of the authorized individuals, so it's not excused, it's the exempted. So those like the medical reason for not being in there and whatever the other requirement, I think there were 4 of them under 1121. Fails to enter school at the beginning of the academic year or being enrolled accumulates 20 or more unexcused absences within either the same school year or within the last 175 consecutive student attendance days. So that would be over 2 school years. And the same concept applies starting on line 2 to the students on either side of the compulsory attendance requirement if they are enrolled in school. So when a student is under 6 or at least 16 years of age becomes enrolled in a public school in grades K through 12, and they accumulate 20 or more unexcused absences within the same school year or within the last 175 consecutive student attendance days, the principal for both of those situations is required to notify the superintendent. And then for Vermont resident students, the head of school of an approved independent school or designee shall notify the superintendent of the student's district of residence. Upon review of the truancy reporting protocol, the superintendent shall notify the truant officer and centralized intake and emergency services of DCF Family Services Division. So that's everything we've looked at thus far is language that you've looked at several times now. Section 1127 is new language. Some of it is new language. Some of it you have looked at before, but I've just highlighted the whole thing. And I will say that because of timing, what is posted on your website, you'll notice that the header says it's unedited. It's with editing now. As soon as I have it back, I will send it to Matt and remove that unedited designation. So notice and complaint by truant officer penalty. So this is the section we were talking about where the original language we were looking at removed the penalty and used that phrase, something like, but take legal action. And so this is the compromise language that is being put forward. Subsection A remains unchanged. The truant officer, upon receiving the notice and truancy reporting protocol, shall inquire into the cause of the non-attendance of the child. What's going on? If the truant officer finds that the child's absences are not excusable under section 1123, so that's different than they don't have to enroll. Those are the excused absences, that's the list or the family vacation. Then the truant officer shall give written notice to the parent or guardian that they must comply with the obligations of section 1122 of this chapter. And that written notice, part of the model policy development, AOE is required to develop a standard form to be, or letter to be used for that notification. So subsection B is where we get into the new language. So anything that's crossed out is current law. It's not the language that used to be there. So if you are ever interested in a side-by-side of what was there and what we're looking at now, I can do that, but I didn't think it was necessary for today. So the proposed language is, if the parent or guardian continues to fail without legal excuse to cause a child to attend school as required by this chapter, after having received that notice that we just talked about, the truant officer shall enter a complaint to the state's attorney of the count and shall provide a statement of the evidence and truancy reporting protocol upon which the complaint is based. Subsection C. The state's attorney may prosecute the person or may file a child in need of supervision petition in accordance with 33 VSA section 5309. If a criminal information is filed under this section, a person shall not be fined more than $1,000 if, after receiving notice, a person fails without legal excuse to cause a child to attend school as required by this chapter. So there's it's discretionary. The state's attorney can prosecute as a criminal offense, which would be a misdemeanor, or file a CHINS petition. And this law does not preclude the state's attorney from taking both avenues.
Or neither.
No.
Yes.
So
To do one or the other.
I mean, if you want to get into it, technically the state's attorneys have independent prosecutorial discretion, and so they don't have to do anything. A judge may disagree with me.
That's an important point.
Yeah, that's what, like, it could be a may. Something else, or not, neither of those.
Yeah.
Because they have independent prosecutorial
Yep.
discretion.
Yes.
How can you say those words back?
They have an ethical, prosecutors have an ethical
Independent
obligation.
Prosecutorial discretion.
That's.
If you get questions about that on the floor, we've gone way far off track.
I think we got a few members.
Oh, really?
One.
Okay.
Does this mean that they have to prosecute?
No.
That's gonna be the question.
Yeah.
There has to be, the truancy officer has to file a complaint with the state's attorney's office. And then the state's attorneys may prosecute or may file a chins petition or both. They have special ethical obligations not to bring cases that are not just, that there's not evidence for. They have witness, if they don't have witnesses and they can't, I mean, there's so many different things that go into that, exercising that discretion. It's a may. In a prosecution, the complaint, information, or indictment shall be deemed sufficient if it states that the parent or guardian, so this is talking about the notice that's required. And then the information has to specify if the applicable person is a parent or guardian, and then name the person of the child, and then name the child, neglects to send the child to a public school or an approved or recognized independent school or home study program as required by law. So that's the base knowledge that would be provided to a parent. And so there couldn't, the case wouldn't be dismissed because there wasn't proper notice. That's like the basic information that needs to appear on the complaint. So that's it. That's the compromise language that you have. The meat of it is this subsection C.
Yes, okay.
And I don't even know if compromise is the right word. It may be that this is the intent all along, and this is just the first time that we've gotten the language right.
I believe, that the intent was to open up discretion and sort of remove the threat of financial fine. But that being the only means of prosecuting made that complicated. But anyway, yeah, seems to work. Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, does anyone know, is it currently within the state's attorney's purview to choose to file a chins petition? So we're sort of like restating options that already exist.
Yes. Okay.
And I think the next section is important just to review.
Yeah, repealing the snatch a child off the street and take it.
I think it's important to say that, yeah.
Yeah, is that what that section is called?
Yes, that's the technical term.
Well, not only is it, I mean,
Reader header in
if you're
there.
a superintendent or principal, or no, I'm sorry, superintendent or truant, you are required to snatch that child off the street and put that in school, even if it's not the school where the kid lives.
That's right. Kicking and screaming. Sure.
That sounds kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Why we'd be repealing that part.
Jurisdiction of non-residence, the only change here is changing person having control of the pupil to parent or guardian, because who has control of their children? Okay, so we are in a new section now. We're on page 11. We are out of section 1, which means we are out of subchapter, whatever that was, in your attendance and discipline chapter. We are still in the same chapter in Title 16. We're just in the discipline piece of it now. And we're looking at section 1162, suspension or expulsion of students. Those asterisks here do represent statutory language that does not appear here because we're not making any changes to it. All we're doing is adding a new subsection that gives public schools and independent schools discretion. So may provide access to alternative education during a suspension period of 3 or more days. And then they can also do that for students that have been expelled, except that the school shall provide educational access to the extent otherwise required by law. Section 3 is succession law. Subsection A requires the agency to come back to you all in March of next year, almost a year exactly, and submit a written update on the efforts made to develop the model policy. And they have to include their most recent draft and most recent drafts of all of the templates that are required to be developed as part of the model policy, just to give you a check-in on where they are in that development. And then subsection B requires the agency to have that model policy adopted and published by July 1, 2027. And then subsection C requires school boards and independent schools to adopt and implement a chronic absenteeism policy on or before July 1, 2028. So there's a whole school year in between when the model policy is required to be developed and the school boards are required to adopt their own policies, but there's nothing preventing any earlier action should that work out. There's a repeal of section 1076. And then there is a new section that requires on or before December 1st, 2026, the agency to submit a written report to the education committees with recommendations for updates to Vermont's home study program law to improve oversight over home study programs and to ensure home study participants' compliance with attendance requirements. And then this entire act would take effect on July 1, 2026.
Okay. So we have defined chronic absenteeism as of July 1, 2026.
Yes.
We don't have a policy in place to react to it until July 1, 2028.
Yes.
How does that language sort of live in the meantime?
It lives.
Yeah.
The reason I'm struggling is I think some of this language can be used by the field without a model policy,
And that's,
right? And so whether you want this language to only be effective once a model policy is adopted, I think is a policy choice. The truancy update would take effect right away. The list of excused absences and non-excused absence, that would take effect right away. And so those actions would be taken. I don't know what the policy will entail, so it's hard for me to say. I think that might be a better question for AOE.
but in the meantime, though, it does define what an excused and unexcused absence is.
Mhm.
That then can be used jumping sort of to the current truancy or the new truancy law. In
Yes.
the absence of a policy
Yes.
between there.
Yes, I don't think there is one right answer on this.
Okay.
From a legal perspective, because I think it depends on what you want to apply now, regardless of maybe extra. Do you want some of it to take effect now, all of it to take effect later, all of it to take effect now? Some of it to take effect, all of it to take effect now because some of it is useful now, and the stuff that isn't useful now because you don't have the policy will just.
I'm perfectly comfortable with the way it is because
Yeah.
I agree that it's providing language that the field can use. I was just kind of curious about.
I think this is a awkward position for me to be in because I'm not executing this.
Right.
And so I think technically, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
You may get feedback that it's not fine from a user perspective.
And my question was
Yeah.
technical.
Yes,
It's fairly plain language, right? I mean, it's not,
I mean, there are, the model policy is required to come up with templates and there are references to these templates in here. It's not as clean cut as everything happening all at once.
So I'm. I think the templates are probably the biggest missing piece, probably, if we're going to be talking about how the field might. And because if you are encountering it, and they are, and we already know they are, then you have to know what you're gonna do about it. And so I guess the default would be to go back to whatever the practice has been in the past until the model policy is in place with those templates. But I'm trying to remember, there's nothing in here that they could do those templates earlier.
Yes, everything is a, before.
Yeah, so
By, yes, by, yes.
I guess my next question would be, there is quite a long lead time. Is that standard? Is that something that was requested by the AOE? I mean, I'm wondering whether it can be shortened.
You can do whatever you want for these effective dates.
I'm asking why.
If memory serves, and you do have AOE in the room, who can correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe that the language I received originally had one effective date for all of this. I don't remember if I explored that very deeply with them. To me, this is really a question for what the policy would entail and how crucial that is to executing this law. I mean, some of these things from a non-user standpoint, from just a lay person looking at this, some of these things, I don't know why you would need a policy for. I mean, certainly anywhere where there's discretion, if the model policy is going to guide your discretion, then you are going to see some uneven practices in the field.
Well, there is discretion.
Which there is now.
Right. And so if the model policy, if one of the big pieces of the model policy is going to be how do you exercise that discretion, then you are just leaving it up to the field to figure that out.
And I want to say, I don't have a problem with that. Just like you were saying, I'm just don't want to be surprised that we should have had a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? That's my only.
So two things. I'm happy that the language that was presented today, it does restore the truancy officer and the enforcement process, which was something that I was having a concern with as well. Something that does still concern me, right, is that we are up to 20 unexcused absences. So if there's 15 excused and 19 unexcused absences, that's 34 days missed out of a 175-day year, which is about 19% of the school day for the year. To me, that's an awfully high number to miss, right? That could be potentially missed before truancy is even considered as a thing. So that's, I just want everyone to think about that, because to me, that's a lot of numbers of a day before the student's truancy and then enforcement can be had. Now, I know there's a lot of tools that we're hopefully gonna have a model policy on how to address that before we get that far, but that is still a fairly decent concern of mine. I don't know if it makes me a no, but it makes me concerned.
Good.
Let that one just sit for a moment.
Yeah, I just did the math to make sure I was right, but I was like, that's almost 20%.
Representative Brady.
Well, I'll further complicate that and say that in those kind of scenarios, which are absolutely happening, my belief is that it's generally not going to be a punitive criminal process or a truancy officer intervention that's the difference that changes things. And I'm quite supportive of the email we got from the attendance specialist in Montpelier. I know that my district, Colchester's done a lot of work on this, furnished resources. They didn't have any social worker devoted to attendance and engagement. And you know, the things that change this behavior and that increase engagement are the ways that we support families and kids and not punish them. It does not change my concern about that number or the number of absences or the amount. All of it is absolutely a problem and challenge. So
I think, yeah, it reminded me of the testimony as well. I would hope that there wouldn't be a superintendent or principal who would say, yeah, we're not, you're technically no longer absent or chronically absent.
Well, and that's really, I'm happy that we were able to bring the enforcement back into it that was missing. And like I said, I hope that these things that we're trying to do to not let the kids get there take effect. but it's, to me, it's still a concern because there's how many are not, right? It's really in the efficiency and I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but like the robustness that we implement this to make sure we don't get to that many days, 34 days.
You know, I think probably that chronic absenteeism is a big topic in the education world, and I assume that nobody's ignoring it. I guess I feel comfortable with the field being able to respond to your concern, which I think is a thoughtful one.
Not to burn on yesterday, and I was, when we were talking.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
This is not my committee. I will say, I'm just looking at the model policy language again, and the model policy is designed, it's a model policy on the prevention of chronic absenteeism and truancy. And most of the rest of this is, what is an absence? What is an excused absence? What is an unexcused, like the process to make a determination if there's an absence or not an absence. And then, but I think, so again, I think it is technically a policy choice. But the way that the model policy is characterized as the prevention, much of this could take effect without a model policy from a plain reading of the law.
So committee, go ahead.
I do have one other question, not throwing a monkey wrench into it, but it caught me off guard. I wasn't quite sure on page 7, 11, and 26, but I'm actually going to page 8. Where it talks about when the student is 20 or more unexcused absences. And the part where it says for Vermont resident students, the head of school of an approved independent school or designee shall notify the superintendent of the student district of residence. That makes sense to me, but then it says upon review, the truancy reporting protocol, the superintendent shall notify the truant officer. I guess I'm trying to I'm sort of curious about the connection between the wraparounds. The student doesn't attend the school that the superintendent is the superintendent of. It is only the town of residence, and now it's all of a sudden it's their responsibility to make sure that the truant officer has been notified, and the truant officer, who's making sure that all this process takes place? You see, I guess I was a little taken aback by the fact that there's this total separation there, and I guess that's the different rules that we operate under, but.
The truant officer lives in 1125, which is the one title or the one statute that we didn't address. And it's someone appointed by the school board or some folks in ex officio positions.
Yeah.
So there isn't a statutory relationship between the independent school and the truant officer.
Right, that's, I guess.
You know, ultimately, under the law, the LEA is responsible for the student.
I recognize that and I see all that, but I guess I was just pointing it out, not really for any change, because I don't see how you make a change, but it just sort of caught me off guard when the idea of all of this is to make sure that we're connecting all the dots for a student, so wrap around, all of that. And then all of a sudden you got two separate entities sort of dealing with one issue. I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was looking at here, and you clarified that, so thank you. Feels a little funny.
How do we feel about voting? All right. The clerk's nodding.
Did we resolve all the questions? I mean, early on, you had highlighted the shall may.
None of this resolve my concern.
Right.
I will begrudgingly vote yes, because we did bring in some enforcement, and maybe when it gets to our colleagues, there could be more discussion about what 20% of the school year missed really is. So how do we fix that?
Yes.
Just to make sure it's been resolved, because it was mentioned very early on and we kind of chatted about it. On page 4, where line 19, we'd had some discussion on whether it was may or shall. And I'm fine with the may. And I think the point that Rep. Hunter brought up of like college visits, what if there's 60 of them? What if there's 80 of them? So leaving it as a may instead of a shall, I am okay with, but I don't know if we've resolved that amongst ourselves before we.
I correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason why May is better for Representative Hunter's concerns is because it allows the superintendent to not extract.
It also helps with
It does help with your.
my concern
does.
of the
Yes.
34
You-
days,
you've
right?
been-
There
You've
is
already been
limit.
gone 19 days.
Yeah. Right, like, that does help with, now that you've said it.
I just want to know if we all agreed that May
A little bit
we're
of
keeping before we
We
voted.
trusted the, we
Okay.
talked about the discussion.
Thank you very much for.
Clear.
No, I'm not hard, but I'm still gonna vote yes.
All right, well, if we're ready, would somebody move the bill, please? I said, I move that we approve draft
The
four
presenter
point
should
one
be the one.
of 26,077. I'll move it.
Correction, five.
I'll second it.
Okay, second eight,
All right, just to clarify, draft, we're putting on draft 5.1.
oh, 5.1.
5.1. All right, Rep. Brady,
Yes.
Rep. Brown, yes. Rep. Dobrovich.
Yes.
Rep. Harple.
Yes.
Rep. Hunter.
Yes.
Rep. Long.
Yes.
Rep. McCann.
Yes.
Rep. Morgan.
Yes.
Rep. Quimby.
Yes.
Rep. Taylor. And Rep. Conlon.
Yes, I'd like to explain my vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
Supposed to do that first.
Oh.
11-0.
All right, and Hunter is the,
Where's the reporter?
and so the miscellaneous ed bill, we have to put a reporter down. I'll put me down, but basically, I'm just going to introduce the bill and then start deferring to people. We don't have to list everybody we're deferring to.
Right.
Do I need to deliver something right now to the clerk?
Matt will help.
Matt
you.
will help you.
Yeah.
Matt has a list. He's very good.
Yeah, we'll be breaking momentarily and then we can sort all that out. All right, so those actions are done. Legislative Council will get a fully edited.
I
copy.
just sent it to Matt.
Great. I think we're all done with us then.
You know I'm not.
For the moment.
For now.
Don't worry, we'll keep feeding you.
For now.
All right, so we have our usual discussion topic set for 2:30 or 2:15, which is right now. I don't know I guess I would throw it open if people have things they'd like to sort of bring up and work out right now. We can. I think I'd be more interested in having something to respond to. Chris will have his stuff
See.
ready for us tomorrow
Or
afternoon.
just language.
But I don't want to not have the conversation if people are here to have the conversation right now. Otherwise, I'm going to suggest that everybody use the next hour before we get to the floor productively. Period. And I will say we are at recess then until the floor.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Not that I'm volunteering.
Yeah.
But if the miscellaneous ed bill is going to be divided up and people need to get reports ready,
Yep.
that could be a productive use of time.
Yes.
So I
All
don't
right,
know,
so
if you
let's-
want to take time to figure out who's going to do what section, not that I'm volunteering.
I think Brady should do the ECS stuff because she's taking advantage of their programs.
ECS, that's the BOCES to CISA.
No.
What am I looking at?
Kate's on BOCES to CISA.
It's going to do BOCES, okay. So which one is it? Is it the interstate compact for education that Brady's going to do?
Yeah. Jana, would you do moratorium?
Sure, it's my least favorite part, but I will do it.
What was the final thing on the bottom?
There's two things left, class size minimums and background checks.
What's the last one?
Background checks.
Thank you.
Chris, you want to do background checks?
And I honestly would rather not. I don't know what I'm gonna be up against here after
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay.
But
Background checks, Quimby, you want it?
I think I'm more comfortable with class size minimums and background.
That's all right. You got class size minimums and Harple's doing background checks.
Unless you want to. I mean, because the minimums is just the change of
What's that?
minimums. The class size minimum one is just about aligning those timelines, really.
That's right.
It's not about the policy.
No.
Although someone will ask.
Yeah, and that's where
I can answer-
Hates class size minimums.
Right,
At this point,
so-
to not want to even touch it.
That's
my assumption.
So do you guys want, a section by section summary for the miscellaneous bill?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to get something prepared on the class size minimum.
Background checks is basically the same.
Giving the AOE.
Require background checks for their contractors.
You can always
There's
just read what's there.
Yeah, in the same way that superintendents already
You know, people
do.
ask about why, there was an incident where AOE hired a contracting photographer. Turns out, he had been sued. It wasn't a criminal thing, so it wouldn't have showed up anyway. But he had been sued for taking illicit pictures and posting them.
Had they done a background check? They might have.
It might not.
No, because it wasn't a criminal, the statute of limitations had passed, but anyway,
Whatever.
but it just at least puts some more.
Just put a highlight.
Put a highlight that, hey, we gotta have a policy. Okay.
Well, you know, so this is all gonna go in. We can, we can delay things on the floor, no problem.
Might get delayed anyway.
Yeah.
This isn't going anywhere.
No, neither one of these have any money in them,
This has any
so
interstate compact, because we're paying the dues anyway.
Question about.
Tuesday, yes.
You got
Oh,
answered.
judiciary. had a question.
Just sure.
Yes.
Got answered. Right.
Yeah. Be like, should they have a quick look at this?
What I was told, they actually wanted it to come here.
Okay,
That's what I was.
That's what I was told offline,
All right.
but, it can obviously do a
I
drive-by.
went there first with the advocates. And
Okay.
then they said, hey,
Yes.
okay.
I think
All
it
right.
needs to go to the advocate. So I, but great, you might want to talk to Pierce to make
I
sure.
will, I'll just, do that. But this won't be until Tuesday, at the earliest, and even then we can delay the day depending on how busy we are or the floor is.
I'll just ask another question to make sure. So you're gonna introduce it,
Yeah.
and then will you also do the summary at the end of who the witnesses were and the vote and
Yes, I will.
your support?
Yes. So I always forget the whole witness thing.
And
And
the
the
vote,
committee.
and what the vote was and all that.
542.
And the committee.
Yeah. So you'll start it, you'll end it, and this, and we'll split it up this way. And the effective dates and all that kind of stuff at the end.
All right. I will be using some of this time to prepare for my presentation of the PCB bill.
Oh, that's, I saw that.
It will be tomorrow unless I'm told,
Maybe we have to.
rather than having it hang over the weekend, well, I might delay it a bit.
Might have a lot tomorrow morning, it looks like. It's a lot on notice. That's why I said to my brother, can you come take care of dad? So I can